Welcome back to Echo Ridge, where today we're going to build this wonderful geothermal power plant. But first, I have a few updates for you. We're now sitting at cycle 2380, and I have spent a total of 82 hours playing this one colony. I don't know why I'm still playing it. The colony's been self-sufficient for a very long time, except for the fact that I want to make it to cycles 4,000, 5,000, maybe even one day 10,000. So perhaps the most interesting update is the fact that I've managed to kill all the Drecos. How, may you ask? Well, if you remember, I had 2 Weezeworts down here, and apparently they ended up making the area around it too cold. So instead of relying on Weezeworts, I did something that I should have done, 2,000 cycles ago, and just extended our cooling loop. So now our massive space biome cooling loop is also keeping the mealwood within temps. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for more Drecos to come popping through the printing pod. Yes, we could go get some, but remember, these dupes on this colony like to stay on this colony. In fact, other than some very small enclosed telescope scanning, this is the only part of the star map they know or care about. Also in the meantime, we've upgraded the dupes' living conditions, and every dupe is now living in a private bedroom, giving them a +3 to morale. Which brings us to our first sort of job of this episode. We need to go through and check out some of the skills. Because, for instance, I was going down and giving everybody rocket piloting just to be able to give them suit sustainability training for the bonus to athletics when I came upon Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders was also doing some critter ranching, but I can't put them in rocket piloting and suit sustainability because their morale requirement's already at 26. Not a big deal, but they only have an athletics of 14, so I'd like to bump it up a little bit. I know, we could use a dupe gym. So I'm thinking of skill scrubbing Colonel Sanders. The issue is, we only have 3 ranchers on this colony. Mason Lord, Colonel Sanders, and Talentist. So I need to find somebody else that can do some ranching. We don't have anybody else with an interest in improved farming, so it'll preferably be somebody with a low morale requirement already, such as maybe Doritos P. But then again, Doritos P does all the cooking. Do we have anybody else that can do some cooking? After taking a look, no one else has an interest in grilling, so we're just going to pick somebody and go with it. For instance, Lupine Ways here isn't doing much mechatronics engineer building, so they can now cook, which then will alleviate some cooking time from Doritos P, so we can put them into gritter ranching. Chris Hoffler also has a low amount of morale requirement, but they cannot do any grilling, so they should do some ranching. The Queen, on the other hand, is also pretty much done doing any research, so let's put them into grilling as well. And now I feel pretty confident in being able to skill scrub Colonel Sanders. Of course, if we just keep making the morale higher, we are averaging high 30s, low 40s, it wouldn't matter how many skills we put them into anyways. All said and done, we now have 5 critter ranchers and 3 people who can work the grill. So with that being said, let's go find Colonel Sanders and get them skill scrubbed, and hopefully I won't forget to reassign their skills. Perhaps the biggest update though is the fact that we've finally burned through all this water, which means we are ready for our next project. And I wanted to use this area because this is going to be a perfect space to be able to tie in with the geothermal spike because of the connection of obsidian. Arguably this area would be pretty good too, but the obsidian is only 1 tile wide here, whereas I think I have a little bit more room over here. And since we're done pumping all that water, I can also get rid of this system and then simplify this area here. This is where all of our excess polluted water was going, which is all the polluted water being generated by our natural gas generators. Of course, they're only running at 14% of the time over the last 5 cycles, and our petroleum generators, which haven't ran in a quick minute. In other words, even though I'm getting ready to add another power source, we need to use more power. So as I get to working through this, I'd like you to think of some ideas that we can put into place to use more power on this colony, because more power usage means more polluted water, which means I can feed more arbor trees, which will give us more lumber, which we can then feed back into ethanol distillers to make, yes, more power. But now we can also clean up this area as well. We definitely don't need to take up this much space. In fact, I can probably clean, all this out. Another reason why we're installing a geothermal power plant is because I want to get rid of all this magma, or more precisely, turn it all into igneous rock and then end up using it, but we'll be able to use all this space. So even if your potential system that's going to use a lot of power takes up a lot of space, we'll have it available. Now, there is a chance that we would eventually start creating more polluted water than we're able to handle through this system here, which means we're going to need some overflow. I also don't love how this is doing a 50-50 split. The reason being is because of the water coming from this planetoid here. You can see our cool slush geyser is now overpressured. This pump should always be able to deliver fresh polluted water. So I think by putting a bridge here, none of this water will be able to empty into these tanks if there's still water coming in from our supply teleporter output, which is fine because we're also going to put an overflow system here. We'll prioritize all the water heading towards those tanks, but if ever there's a time where there's too much, that's where it can feed into our trees here in the pip farm. Based on the amount of overflow we're naturally getting from all the dupes using the bathrooms, we can support a little over 1 arbor tree. So we're predicting that no matter how much polluted water we generate, 3 arbor trees will be able to handle that overflow. I'll keep an eye on this probably for the next 400 or 500 cycles, and if I think we need more polluted water dumps, I can just add some thimbleweeds to the situation. Because while a tree can drink up to 70 kilos per cycle, a thimbleweed can drink up to 160 kilos. Now that I've cleaned this whole area up, I've realized this is the only place on the planetoid that doesn't have drywall. Luckily, we're doing fine at 594,000 kilos worth of granite. So let's go ahead and start this process. I'll have to put in some temporary ladders just so they can get in here and build it, but that's no big deal at all. We're gonna have so much more room for activities now that we're not using this place for a tank. Let's see how long it takes 12 board duplicants to finish this job. That's not too bad. Now all I have to do is remove these ladders and then clean up this whole mess. There we go, that looks a little better. Now's the time to work on this though. The only unfortunate thing is I have to get rid of this thimbleweed that's been naturally growing inside this abyssalite for 2386 cycles. We've been through so much together, but I don't know how I can dig down through here and put a couple of steam turbines and everything else we need while still keeping it. So for that reason, we're actually going to dig up this arbor tree and plant a thimbleweed in its honor. Plus, as an overflow tree, it sort of makes sense for it to be a thimbleweed since, once again, the thimbleweed is going to drink more polluted water. The only thing I'm going to have to make sure of is that it stays above 22 degrees in here, which it should. We're sitting at 24 right now. Goodbye, thimbleweed. I'm also trying to grab this egg. Unfortunately, the egg does not want to be grabbed. I can sweep it, but then I have no idea where it goes. So I was trying to do the old move to. So I may just end up shimmying that away or just waiting for the puff to come out of it. The first things first is putting in our geothermal spike. I want it to end up sort of right here. I'm going to have to move some of this magma out of the way. Not a big deal. It also means I'm probably going to need some sort of liquid lock. So let's sort of pre-plan where those steam turbines are going to sit. I'm thinking right about here. That'll give us enough room for 3 steam turbines. Then we'll have insulated tiles, which means this steam turbine would only have 2 ports open, so I don't love that. So I think maybe we're going to have to suffice with 2 steam turbines. Maybe one here and one here. Which this is good, because then I'll be able to put the small liquid lock right here on the right side. So let's start by putting our insulated tiles in. And then I'll soft lock this by dropping a little bit of naphtha right here. It'll hold, I hope. They just dropped off the bottle. And I'm not going to be as careful because I know it's just going to flow down. That's 10 kilos. It just sort of sat there. I'm going to leave enable auto bottle on for another minute. We have plenty over here. Ooh, wait, there's 123 kilos. I actually do not need auto bottle on, and they'll drop off that big bottle, and then I can just scoop it all up. And that way we know there's as much in this tile as possible. But I can already start vacuuming this area out Here we go. Thank you, Chris. Right up over 30 kilos so we can stop it. And then I can mop here, here. So now we have a liquid lock. Don't ask me how this little bit of liquid stops all this gas coming through. It's science. Now we're doing a few things a little haphazardly in the fact that, well, the duplicants don't have suits on. It shouldn't matter much because they will be in a vacuum as long as they don't actually put their little footsies inside the magma, because that would sting. The other thing we're going to have to be careful of is when they grab the materials out of here, because those materials will be really hot and we don't want to superheat this naphtha. It's only 31 kilos, but I definitely can't leave them in here because that would look ugly. I also realized we had normal drywall behind all of these ladders, so we're going to replace it with some fresh drywall to once again make everything look nice. All right, step one, let's open this place up. Here's where the hot begins. So we have a little bit of room, but we still need to make sure that we're maintaining an area where the dupes can dig in and out of. So we'll start with these, and I think this is where we'll go down further, which will also help making this area a little bit bigger, because remember, the heat's going to come in from this side. So the more contact we have with this steam in here, the better. I'm also going to have to remove some of these pieces of drywall because we're going to want temperature shift plates in here as well. We're about to get into the hot area, but remember, it's not going to be too big of a deal for the dupes, because the tile can't transfer the heat to their little footsies unless there's an environment in here. I'm gonna have to put one ladder in here, so we'll have to deconstruct it on the way out. No big deal. This, I just realized this is obsidian, so the other side of the back plate can't sit here because it'll still draw in temperature from the obsidian unless I dig all this out and put insulated tile there, which I do not love. Basically what we're looking at, or I was going to try to do, is diamond tiles here, our wonderful vacuum door here, and then more diamond tiles like this. But now I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to get down even further and put some insulated tiles here, which does not make it as clean of a build. I could corner build some spikes and just make it a little bit taller in through here. All right, let's try that for a little bit. All right, so far so good. New plan is going to be something like this. No, don't build it yet. I can probably corner build that, and then I'll build this one here. But in order to get to it, I'm going to have to remove even more abyssalite, which I don't love doing. But we got to do what we got to do. This will also allow me to corner build this one. But once again, I will have to open this up here. I wish there was an ability to build natural tiles in the game. For instance, being able to build abyssalite tiles. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, this is about to get super hot. How hot? Super hot. Woo! Oh no, now there's going to be a piece of abyssalite down there forever. I think I have to get down there. I can't leave abyssalite around all willy-nilly. Okay, what if we just let out a little bit of magma? Right? It wouldn't be too bad. Just as long as I don't let any water in here, the dupes will just have to run really quick through the magma. For the record, there is 1,700 kilos in this tile and 1,700 in this one, so just a little bit of magma. And that way we sort of have a situation like this. And then I can put the door here, the hot plate here. Yeah, it'll be great. So let's remove this one. I'll have to deconstruct this one up as well so I can get into this one. It's gonna be okay, just in case. Don't be alarmed, dupes. These are just a precaution. I'm sure no one's gonna need them. Ooh, I might be able to actually corner delete these. No, I don't think there's any way. No matter what I do, it's just gonna push the magma up. So now I can put it here, put it there. No, Naz. Naz, get out of the magma. Just make sure you hurry. Just hurry up and build it. Nothing wrong with a little bit of sunburn. Okay, I guess there's a lot wrong with a little bit of sunburn, but we've got triage cots and ointment. Ooh, this is a good opportunity. I could destroy some of it. I can put an obsidian tile here. It'll destroy that. So let me cancel this for now. And then we'll do something like this. It'll destroy that tile of magma. There we go. And now I can get back in there, put this one in, and I might be able to repeat it depending on if this magma gets pushed up or over. Okay, we're able to destroy a little bit of it. The rest of this, it'll be just fine. Can I mop it up? Haha, I've got it. I managed to push it all over. We're going to build this one, and then I'll corner build to destroy this tile. And again, this is not an exploit. This is just science and physics. If you push enough stuff into the corner, it just disappears. Just open your closet. You'll see what I mean. Now's the time to put in the mechanized airlock. We'll cover it up with insulated tiles. The only thing I don't like is this gap right here, but considering this is hot abyssalite as well, it sort of makes sense. So maybe we'll end up making all of these insulated tiles so it looks a little bit cleaner. We're also going to finish off the heat spike so that way when the door is shut, there's more of a medium for it to dump the heat into. Once that level is done, we'll do the same thing above it. I really need to open this door soon though because we're putting way too much heat in here. Now the heat should stop and distribute across the diamond window tiles. Beastie, you don't want to stand there. Can't forget to put in the automation. We'll start it off that way. And now we need some power. Steel wires all around. Did I make the automation out of steel? Yes, I did. I'm also going to add another large power transformer. This line is at over 3,000 watts. And if something in here breaks, we're not going to be able to go back in and get it. And once again, I've made the mistake of making that area way too hot. So I'm quickly trying to put a thermal sensor in here to force this door open. As soon as you put the wires in there, it turns red, which closes and locks it. We want it to be green. There we go. Initial construction is complete. These tiles are a little bit more warm than I'd wanted, but it's okay. Now to move these materials out of here. The advent of the move to command really did make things like this a lot easier because I don't have to sweep it to get out of here. I can wait until I'm ready and move it around in the process. And that way there's less of a chance of hot materials going through this naphtha and killing our lock. And that's only for the obsidian and other materials because the abyssalite doesn't take much temp, nor does it transfer much temp. So I could sweep the abyssal out right now, but we're still going to wait until we're right here at the end. Because once we do fill this place up with steam, it's going to get nasty pretty quickly. Now for the temperature shift plates, I'd love to use diamond, but I only have a little over 4 tons left. So in this case, we're going to use obsidian. Obsidian's not bad when compared to what I normally use, and that's the igneous rock. The igneous rock has a specific heat capacity of 1 and a thermal conductivity of 2, whereas the obsidian has a specific heat capacity of 0.2. So it doesn't hold as much heat, but it'll still transfer it around this area here. Plus, all said and done, they're still 800 kilos, so they hold a lot more heat than, say, a 100 kilo tile here. Speaking of which, what's the melting point for granite? 670? Oh, sorry, granite, you're gonna have to go. And I just realized before I drop this granite onto these hot plates, let's see what happens at 670. It turns into magma. Well, that's not too bad. But why don't I cancel this? Let's put some temporary insulated tiles down, not made out of sedimentary rock. We'll make them out of obsidian as well. Then I'll drop everything out. I can sweep it, get everything out of here, and then get back to the business at hand. Now, the way we're going to be able to put water and the steam in here to start this thing off is through these pipes. We're also going to need to leave some room for our cooling loop. More on that in a second. I don't think I have to do that. I can go just like this. And this is going to be the cooling loop that keeps these steam turbines nice and chill. We also need to load our steam turbines with the power. We'll extend it just like this. We'll also put the heavy watt conductive wire to the transformer and get our nice and steel conductive wire down to this door. We won't use steel everywhere though. No need to do that inside the insulated tiles. I'll also end up using this conductive wire for our carbon dioxide and any other sort of gas elimination system. Right now, all of it gets dumped into the vacuum of space. We need a lot of gas pumps. The reason being is when the ethanol distillers are active, they produce a lot of carbon dioxide. Not to mention all the other carbon dioxide that's being created in and around the planetoid. Can now also get rid of all this granite. We'll still do drywall, but we'll try to make it out of obsidian. And now I'm going to sweep everything out. This naphtha is at 28 degrees. Let's see how this goes. Not bad, 31 degrees. And now it's time for our temperature shift plates made out of obsidian. And what's great is as they deconstruct the insulated tiles, they're using the obsidian from it to put it inside the other temperature shift plates. So we shouldn't have too much debris when left over. And these temperature shift plates that are in direct contact with the tiles are taking a lot of the temps out. And this is a great example to show you that temperature shift plates don't actually transfer temperature into temperature shift plates. Notice this is 800 degrees. The temperature shift plate connected to the building, in this case a tile, is 800 degrees. but the next temperature shift plate is not. That's the reason why your environment matters in something like a sauna. Finish off with some nice obsidian drywall. Absolutely beautiful. Bob Ross would be proud. Now, for the time being, these steam turbines are going to be in carbon dioxide until I end up moving this system down. And whenever you have steam turbines in carbon dioxide, it's always better to have some temperature shift plates behind the steam turbine to sort of help the coolant keep the steam turbines chill. Otherwise, they'll end up overheating. It's getting about time for me to seal this whole thing up. And I'm really hoping that I haven't made any mistakes, because once I dump water onto this thing, there isn't going to be any coming back. Unless I wanted to put the dupes in suits and make a huge mess, and no one's got time for that. So let me start by putting the insulated tile there, hoping the naphtha ends up going up and not in, because naphtha will end up turning into wonderful sour gas at 540 degrees. Now, I know all of you are rooting for sour gas, but it will not happen because we are pro. Please don't go watch the Twitch streams, because there may or may not have been sour gas recently. Dang it! Obviously, this naphtha cannot stay here. So now I gotta put more naphtha down to go get this naphtha, and then I'll end up building a tile here before building this tile, so the naphtha is guaranteed to go up. But then how am I going to get rid of that tile? All right, we have our naphtha back. Let me deconstruct this tile. Brilliant. Put another ladder in, go mop this up, pick it up, and then figure out how am I going to do this. Second, first, same as the first. Because even if I do end up putting a tile there, it'll then forever not have drywall there if I deconstruct it. The alternative is I just leave the tile there and have one steam turbine port always covered. Okay, I've got it. We're just gonna have to back this up a little bit, and I'm gonna have to make the liquid lock somewhere else. Like in this tile. Ooh, wait a minute. I have a little bucket right here. So I can empty it, but I'm not gonna empty this one. It's way too big, so I am gonna do this. Deconstruct this one, put a little naphtha here, end up putting this block in. All right, now we have 38 kilos of naphtha here. So I can dig out this abyssalite. Look, I know this is a lot of microing for one episode, and most of the episode's been staring at this screen, but hey, this is how the things have to happen. Oh no. Oh no. Well, there's the obsidian and abyssalite of shame. Let's just pretend like we didn't see them. Now I can mop those up and put insulated tiles in, and we will be done. Voila! Now the question is, are we going to put a battery in here? I think we are. Even though I'm just going to want these to burn 100% of the time, eventually we may want to sort of limit it. But for right now, the primary mission is just solidifying this entire biome so that we can go dig it out and take all the igneous rock. That'll happen around cycle, I don't know, 4,000. So we'll put a little battery in here. Also tie it in like that. Use the automation wire, not made out of steel this time. And plug all these in. And then we're going to change the battery to be 100-100, which means it basically stays green. Nope, it's not staying green because it's sitting at 100. It's flashing back and forth. So we'll just go 90-80, and that way, whenever the batteries are less than 80% full, they'll turn on. So these steam turbines will turn on first before anything else. Now, again, we could put these into a power plant to generate even more power, which I suppose I should do. It's really irresponsible of me to not do that. Where am I going to put it? Okay, I think that looks a lot better. And now we have a wonderful power plant. So the steam turbines will give us a potential 1,275 watts each, which they're definitely going to. The next step is depositing some fresh water in here. I don't want to use polluted water because then there'd be dirt in here. And I suppose I could grab this line from all the way over here, but it might be more simple to put in a liquid pump and a bottle emptier and just drop off some water. And then we tie in the liquid pipe so we can drop up however much water we want. I'm going to be looking for 50 kilos of steam. 50 kilos won't be so little that as soon as the door is shut, the temperature spikes too fast, and it won't be too much to where it takes it too long to transfer around. We have a little bit of water here, so it's time to let the festivities commence. Fingers crossed I didn't mess anything up. It all instantly turns to steam. All of the window tiles temperature gets drained, and now we can set this temperature. We're going to say send a green signal which will open the door when the temps are above 225 degrees, which means when the temperature in this room is above 225 degrees, we want to stop the temperature transfer, making sure I hit above, of course. Door opens, transfer of heat stops, and now I just need to wait till about 50 kilos. And there we have it. And if you're wondering why we chose 225 degrees, it's because that's a pretty good ratio, depending on the size of your sauna, to make sure that you're not wasting heat and the steam turbine is able to produce the most amount of power. Notice its current wattage is 1.2 kilowatts, and now all we have to do is sort of wait. Notice that the steam turbines are sitting around 50 degrees, so I will probably have to get these gas pumps installed sooner rather than later. So this is an oxygen atmosphere. So to do that, I'm just going to put the one pump down here. It'll work in tandem with this system, which is going to come down here, which if you've never seen how this works, we're going to take a gas element sensor and say oxygen. So the gas element sensor is going to detect oxygen. We're going to flip it to a NOT gate. So now, essentially, the gas element sensor is detecting everything but oxygen. And we have a filter gate. We'll set it at, say, 60 seconds, which means if it detects anything but oxygen for longer than 60 seconds, it'll allow that green signal to go through, which turns on the gas pumps. And we've also done the same system here. These steam turbines are coming down a little. They're at 45 degrees, but that's still too hot for my liking, because that 45 degrees is being disseminated throughout the entire colony. I just realized I built these emergency triage cots that, by the way, we never really needed, when I had a nice little trauma ward right here. I mean, who wouldn't want to stay in here? Doing some initial look at the power grid, the only other modification I need to make is make sure the hydrogen generators are firing, because remember that would cause backups in our SPOM. So we're just going to change it to 9085. So they'll fire first, and then those two steam turbines will fire. I just realized looking at this SPOM, this little guy will produce enough oxygen for a little over 17 dupes. Why didn't I just build it in our farm series instead of trying to come up with another new design? And it didn't take too long before all the carbon dioxide was eliminated using our gas pumps. And no, we still don't have Drecos. One last chance for the episode to see if there's Drecos in the pod. Survey says no. We will take the 4 tons of ice and add it to our 135 tons. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode in our Chaos Crew Play-Along series, which is definitely a stark contrast to the early beginnings over in the farm series. This is the first time I've ever ran 2 series at the same time. Granted, this series' episodes are few and far between. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments below. And as a reminder, please help me spend all this power. Until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.